Greetings and salutations, friends and gamers of all stripes. My name is GM Dave. I am your man behind the screen, and today we're going to look at some 5e Unearthed Arcana. First, before I get started, I'd like to apologize for any background noise that's going on. I do have the fan going and my window open, since otherwise it gets very stuffy in my office. And unfortunately, today there have been a lot of planes coming and going from the nearby airport. So hopefully we're not going to have any more problems with that, but, you know, if you hear it, I apologize. So we've got two Unearthed Arcana to look at today. As you can see, we've got the Unearthed Arcana for the Barbarian and Monk, which includes the Path of the Wild Soul Barbarian and the Way of the Astral Self Monk. Now, this one's a little bit older. This was actually from the middle of last month, so, you know, a little late to the party on this, but one of my friends wanted me to take a look at this and share my thoughts with him, so I figured, you know what, I can share my thoughts with all of you as well. The other one we have is a newer one. We have the Unearthed Arcana for the Sorcerer and the Warlock, the Aberrant Mind, and Lurker of the Deep Origins. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the Barbarian, Path of the Wild Soul. So I have pre-read through these at least a little bit, and in short, Path of the Wild Soul, excuse me, basically takes one of the concepts that has been tried many times in 5th edition and not often successfully achieved, and that is to combine a standard combat-oriented character, specifically a melee combat-oriented character, Barbarian in this case, with magical flair. Now, some classes that are already built for this, like the Paladin, do this very well. Other classes that aren't built for this, like the Fighter, the Barbarian, do not do this well oftentimes when 5th edition has tried to combine them. I think of the Eldritch Knight, the standard Eldritch Knight for the Fighter. It is cool to get the spells, some of the abilities are neat, but they don't really blend the choice of spells and melee combat together so much as you get spells that you can cast or you can keep fighting in melee. That's how it always felt to me when I tried it anyway. Path of the Wild Soul does take a little bit of a different approach, though, and it's one that I do personally think is kind of interesting. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Path of the Wild Soul, that's a primal path, which means this is one of the abilities for the Barbarian that you can select at 3rd level. The realm of the Feywild abounds with beauty, unpredictable emotion, and rampant magic. A barbarian exposed to this realm feels emotions powerfully, and magic saturates their body. When a barbarian who follows this path rages, it is a belting roar for freedom, an explosion of expression manifesting in unpredictable ways. And you get the following features. At 3rd level, Lingering Magic and Wild Surge. At 6th level, Magic Reserves of 1d4. 10th level, you get the Arcane Rebuke ability. And 14th level, you gain the Chaotic Fury ability, and your Magic Reserves increase to 1d6. So let's start with Lingering Magic. At 3rd level, your body reacts to the presence of magic. You can cast a Detect Magic spell without using a spell slot or components. Constitution is your spellcasting ability for this spell. You faintly glow a color corresponding to the school of magic you detect. You choose the colors. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your Constitution modifier, minimum once. You would gain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So, pretty simple. Free Detect Magic, just an on-will, basically an on-will ability. It's very nice, just simple way to give a little bit of extra utility to a class that generally lacks it. Allows the Barbarian to do a little something both in and out of combat that they wouldn't normally do. All in all, I like this, and I appreciate the fact that Wizards decided to use Constitution as a spellcasting modifier. Since this magic is radiating from the Barbarian's body, I think that makes a lot of sense. And now here we have the centerpiece of this entire path, Wild Surge. Starting at 3rd level, magic erupts from you as you rage. When you enter your rage, roll on the Wild Surge table to determine the magical effect produced. If Wild Surge requires a saving throw, your DC is equal to 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your Constitution modifier. Again, focusing on that Constitution, something that barbarians are very good with. That is a smart move. I really appreciate that Wizards went this way with it. So here are the 8 effects you get. On a 1, necrotic energy bursts from you. Each creature within 30 feet takes 1d10 necrotic damage, and you gain temporary hit points equal to the sum of the necrotic damage dealt to the creatures. That means every creature around you, the total number of all the damage dealt, you gain temporary hit points for. That's a nice little buffer to get for an already very tanky class. If you get that effect, hopefully not around your allies, so you won't as easily hit them, but even in that case, that's going to make you pretty hard to take down if you roll well enough. Not bad. 2, you teleport up to 20 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Until your rage ends, you can activate this effect again on each of your turns as a bonus action. This is one of my favorite ones on this list, actually. It's short, it's simple, but the reason why I like it is this part here. The fact you can keep using it until your rage ends as a bonus action. That's wonderful. That gives so much more utility to the barbarian. That allows them to move and traverse the battlefield so much more easily. That is a really fantastic ability. I personally do think this might, if not the best one, it's one of the best, just for this fact here, just for this additional option that it gives to the players. So, give me just one moment. I need to take a drink here. Sorry about that. Number 3, you conjure 1d4 intangible spirits that look like flumps in an unoccupied space within 30 feet of you. Excuse me, in unoccupied spaces. Each spirit immediately flies 30 feet in a random direction. At the end of your turn, all the spirits explode, and each creature within 5 feet of one or more of them must succeed a dexterity saving throw or take 2d8 force damage. Now, something to note here. They must succeed a dexterity saving throw or take 2d8 force damage. That means, in this case, if they succeed the dexterity saving throw, they take no damage. Now, all in all, it's an interesting ability. I, for one, am not a fan of the fact that they make them look like flumps, especially considering the fact that with the Lingering Magic, they gave you some options in terms of how this look. So I think it would have been cool if they allowed the player to actually decide how the spirits appear, you know, something that they could base on their barbarian and the culture they come from, as opposed to the floating jellyfish creatures that live in the Underdark. You know, it's a little bit, I mean, I guess it kind of works. Flumps do sort of look, you know, I guess as spectral creatures, they would sort of look, you know, appropriately ghostly, but it's also a little bit, you know, silly with the eye stalks and everything. Now, this is the interesting thing here, though. Each spirit immediately flies 30 feet in a random direction. Now, how would you determine the random direction? Well, for me, what I would do is essentially I would take whatever square that the spirit is in, and then the 8 squares around it, I would assign a number 1 through 8, then roll the d8. And that decides which direction it's going to fly in. So, the thing here is this could potentially be very powerful, very damaging. If the people affected fail the saves, and if the flumps happen to fly in a direction that you want. That's probably the thing I like least about this is very random. This is all left very much up to pure chance, which a lot of this stuff is for this ability, but this one in particular, probably my least favorite one because literally every aspect of it is totally random. There is nothing about this one that is in your hands, at least with the other ones we've seen so far and with most of the other ones coming forward. There's a little bit more agency left to the player. So number 4, Arcane Energy enshrouds you. Until your rage ends, you get a +2 bonus to AC, and whenever a creature within 10 feet of you hits you with an attack, excuse me, that creature takes force damage equal to your Constitution modifier. Not bad. Not great, fairly passive, but, you know, it works. It supports the Barbarian playstyle. You know, it's fine. Average. Number 5, plant life temporarily grows around you until your rage ends. All ground within 10 feet of you is difficult terrain. Again, not bad. Not exactly especially exciting. The effect itself is passive. It just happens within 10 feet of you. But at least, unlike the arcane energy thing, this you have a little bit of control of. Since it's based around your location, you as the player then could strategically decide where you're going to move as a barbarian to cause the most difficulty possible. This is really going to help a barbarian bar enemies from getting past them and make it easier for them to really make a nuisance of themselves on the battlefield. So in that sense, pretty nice. Again, fits well with the barbarian playstyle of get in, hit things, keep them near you, keep near them. Number 6, arcane energy taps into the minds of those around you. Each creature within 30 feet of you must succeed a wisdom saving throw, or you see a glimpse of the creature's thoughts, learning how it plans to attack you. As a result, the creature has disadvantage on attack rolls against you until the start of your next turn. Again, pretty interesting. This is a little bit of randomness again, since they have to succeed. You have to succeed on the, or they have to succeed on the saving throw, but it's nice. It could potentially provide a lot of difficulty for your barbarian getting hit. So once again, a bit passive, not especially exciting, but plays really well into the barbarian playstyle and thematically is pretty neat. Number 7, shadows weave around a weapon of your choice that you are holding. I think that's I think that's kind of a silly way to word it. Shadows weave around a weapon you are holding. That's all they needed. They could have cut this part and that would have read less confusing and less clumsily. Shadows weave around a weapon you are holding. Until your rage ends, your weapon deals psychic damage instead of its bludgeoning, slashing, or piercing damage, and it gains the light and thrown properties with a normal range of 20 feet and long range of 60 feet. If you drop the weapon or throw it, the weapon dissipates and reappears in your hand at the end of your turn. This is really cool. It's cool because not only do you get the choice of which weapon is affected if you're holding more than one, but just the image of being able to hurl a greatsword like a spinning lightsaber or something like that is just fun. It's just a nice, fun, neat way to add a new form of combat, a new way of increasing how the barbarian does damage, a way for them to get around certain defenses that they might have some difficulty getting around otherwise. Not a lot of creatures are resistant to psychic damage, so that in and of itself is very nice. But being able to throw the weapons and have them reappear in your hand, that just adds a nice, interesting, dynamic way of fighting, especially in the right situation where a more melee-focused barbarian might be having trouble getting hits in, say against enemies that are flying or enemies with elevation behind cover. All in all, I really like this one. Pretty neat. Lastly, number 8, a beam of brilliant light lances from your chest in a 5-foot wide, 60-foot long line. Each creature within the line must succeed a Constitution saving throw or take 2d8 radiant damage and be blinded until the start of your next turn. Not bad. It's kind of a neat visual, seeing the ray of light kind of burst from your chest and everything. And the effect of it is sizable. That's about the size of a lot of dragon breaths. I believe blue dragon breath weapons are that same size. The line might be a little longer for the breath weapon. I can't remember, but 5-foot wide, 60-foot long at least. That's the size of a dragon, of some dragons' breath weapons. So it's a sizable area of effect. Now, each creature in the line must succeed a Constitution saving throw or take 2d8 radiant damage and be blinded until your next turn, start of your next turn. Great effect. Yet again, similar problem to with the flumps. If they succeed the saving throw, no effect. That's kind of a bummer. And like the flumps, another problem with this is it happens at the start of your rage, and that's it. So it's cool when it happens, great if it works, but not so great if it turns out that they make the saving throw, because you're not going to trigger another one of those abilities again. It's just one and done. Now, here's the thing that, here's the one issue that I have with this. It doesn't state whether or not the beam lancing from your chest, whether it shoots in a line straight ahead, or the player gets to choose the direction of the line. Because if it's lancing from your chest, you have a potentially 180-degree range in which you can lance it out. As long as it's in front of you, that would be considered still from your chest. They should have clarified that. For me, my immediate thought would be straight ahead. But if a player wanted to say, hey, if a player was to come to me with this and tell me, hey, it doesn't state that it has to be straight ahead, like I have a basically 180-degree range. If it's shooting from like the set, like out from the center of my chest, like I could have it shoot this way or that way. I mean, I might tell them no, but I would be inclined to say that your argument's fair because Wizards didn't bother to clarify. I think they should have clarified that. It's a minor detail, but it is one of moderate importance. So, all in all, these are some cool abilities. Some of them are certainly better than others. I think the most interesting ones are the plant life, the necrotic energy, the teleportation especially, and the psychic weapon especially. 4 of 8, 50% of them, at least fairly good to really good. The rest of them, okay to meh. So all in all, not too bad. And a nice, interesting way of blending in that feeling of magic and magical ability with a melee-focused class. And not only that, tying it into the class's core ability. That I like a lot. Magic Reserves. At 6th level, you channel the magic surging inside of you into other creatures. As an action, you can touch a creature and roll a d4. The creature recovers an expended spell slot of a level equal to the number rolled. If the creature you touch can't recover a spell slot of that level, the creature instead gains temporary hit points equal to 5 times the number rolled. You take force damage equal to 5 times the number rolled. When you reach 14th level in this class, you increase the die to a d6. So again, I like this a lot. The reason I like this is because, once more, this gives the Barbarian another option in combat. There are times with melee-focused characters, even in 5e, simplified as it is compared to other editions, there are times where melee-focused characters are just not going to have as easy a time getting in the fight. There are times when spellcasters are going to be the ones who are more dominant, and this is nice because not only can you support your spellcasters when you're not able to join the fight directly, it also comes with a little bit of a drawback that you will have to consider. A drawback that does at least very nicely play into the fact that Barbarians have the biggest health pools, generally speaking. So, all in all, I like this one. It's a nice little option for Barbarian that they didn't have before. 10th level, Arcane Rebuke. The magic crackling within your soul lashes out. When a creature forces you to make a saving throw while you are raging, you can use a reaction to deal 3d6 force damage to that creature. All in all, I kind of like this too. It's not fantastic, but it's good. And it's nice that it provides another option with a reaction other than just your typical, attack of opportunity, which is what most Barbarians would take with a reaction. This is sort of a nice way to make it so that, taking a saving throw with Barbarian when you're raging, and that is something to consider. It's only when you're raging. So that's going to potentially limit how often it can happen, but let's be honest here. How many combats do most parties playing 5th edition face within the span of a single rest? Usually 2, maybe 3 in my experience. More than enough for a Barbarian to keep up rage long enough to make good use of this. So, all in all, it ultimately just adds up to another option with your reaction. I had a decent damage-dealing option at that, in between 3 and 18 damage. Maybe a little bit low for 10th level, but for a reaction that's going to lash back against what's probably going to be some kind of caster more often than not if you're making a saving throw. But, hey, sometimes maybe even something as simple as an enemy trying to grapple you. You've got to make strength saves against that. It's a nice way to sort of deal some punishment back when otherwise you might have a little bit of difficulty doing that. And again, that plays nicely into the Barbarian class fantasy. So, all in all, not bad. Finally, Chaotic Fury. At 14th level, you become a wellspring of wild magic while you are raging. As a bonus action, you can re-roll on the Wild Surge table, replacing your current effect with a new one. I like this ability a lot. My one gripe, this should come at a lower level. This is a good ability. It fits well. It's a nice reward to give to the Barbarian. But really, this should be an option they should have gotten at level 10, I think. This, for the capstone ability, a little on the weak side. Great for this primal path. Excuse me, I was going to say great for this class, but that's not the case. But great for this primal path, but it comes a little bit late, in my opinion. So that does hurt it. But on the whole, I really like this. I think this was a nice way to sort of add that fantasy of a melee character that has access to magic. And not only that, this was a much, much better way, in my opinion, of handling an effect of wild, untamed magic than the wild magic sorcerer's crazy, ridiculous, stupid random table was. I make it no secret, I really dislike the wild magic sorcerer. This, much better. Fits with the barbarian class fantasy very well, and just all in all, I like it. This is a barbarian path that I could definitely see myself enjoying. So moving on, we move now to the monk in the monistic tradition, the way of the astral self. Monks of the way of the astral selves have an internal struggle with their key. They see their mystical energy as a representation of their true form, an astral self. This form has the capacity to be a force of good or destruction, with some monasteries training students to either temper their nature or embrace their impulses. Nice little bit of flavor there, but this is what I really like. Forms of your astral self. The astral self is a translucent embodiment of the monk's psyche and soul. As a result, the form of an astral self reflects the mind of a monk who manifests it. Your astral self could be a humanoid knight with a helmeted face and large muscular arms, or it could be a golden metallic form with thin arms like a modron. When choosing this path, consider the quirks that define your monk. Are they obsessed with something? Are you driven by justice or a selfish desire? Any of these motivations could manifest in the form of your astral self. I love that Wizards of the Coast took the time to state, hey, we want to give you the option to decide what this looks like. Think about your character, and then build your astral self off of that. I wish something like this had been what was decided on for the ability that summons the flumps for the Wild Soul Barbarian. I'm sorry, it's a little late in the day, so I'm sort of absent-minded right now. I'm trying my best to stay as focused as possible. Now, does the way of the astral self keep up and live up to this nice bit of freedom to roleplay things out, this freedom to craft the appearance and the lore and the feel of this as the player wishes? Let's find out. So, the way of the astral self gets 4 features across its 4 level brackets, as opposed to the monk, which was 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 14th. This is 3rd, 6th, 11th, and 17th. So 3rd, you get the arms of the astral self, the visage of the astral self, then the awakening of the astral self, and finally, the complete astral self. So, 3rd level, arms of the astral self. Your mastery of your key allows you to summon the portion of your astral self. On your turn, you can spend 2 key points as a bonus action to summon the arms of your astral self for 10 minutes. These spectral arms hover near your shoulders. You determine the appearance of the arms based on the qualities of your character. When they are summoned, you gain the following benefits. You may use your wisdom modifier in place of your strength modifier when making strength checks and strength saving throws. The arms are monk weapons and have a reach of 10 feet. They deal radiant or necrotic damage, your choice. When you attack with the arms, you can use your wisdom modifier instead of your strength or dexterity modifier for the attack and damage rolls. Immediately after you use the attack action with your astral arms on your turn, you can make 1 extra attack with them as a bonus action. The number of extra attacks increases when you reach certain levels in this class, increasing to 2 at 11th and 3 at 17th. So, this ability, not bad. Adds a little bit of an extra combat option. The reach is nice. And having that option to go with wisdom as opposed to strength or dexterity, not too bad. One potential problem I am seeing, though, and we'll see if this carries out throughout. I'm guessing it does, but just based on the fact that having the option to use wisdom instead of strength for some of these things and dexterity is nice, but depending on how these other abilities go out, This is raising a potential red flag that this could make the monk even more of a MAD class. For those who don't understand what the acronym MAD means, it means multi-attribute dependent, which means that you need decent scores in more than just one or two of your stats to really make the class shine. Monk has always struggled with this. This might help fix it. It might exacerbate it. I would like to lean towards the idea that having it be an option to choose between the two would help to fix it a little bit, but it really depends heavily on how frequently and effectively you can utilize it. Visage of the Astral Self. Starting at 6th level, you can summon the Visage of your Astral Self. On your turn, you can spend 1 key point as a bonus action, or as part of summoning your Astral Arms, to summon the Visage for 10 minutes. The Spectral Visage covers your face like a helmet or mask. You determine its appearance based on the qualities of your character. When it is summoned, you gain the following benefits. Wisdom of the Spirit. You have advantage on Wisdom, Insight, and Charisma intimidation checks. Astral Sight. You can see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical, to a distance of 120 feet. That is wildly disappointing. Dark Vision and advantage on Insight and Intimidation. It's fine, I guess. It's not exactly very exciting. Being able to get the advantage on Insight and Intimidation, those are nice. And Dark Vision, of course, should never be, you shouldn't ever discount the strength of Dark Vision. Having it be increased Dark Vision and be able to affect both magical and non-magical light. Actually, it is technically even better than Dark Vision because you can see normally in darkness. Dark Vision doesn't allow you to see like normally in darkness. It's its own separate thing. So, Astral Sight is nice. Wisdom of the Spirit, kind of disappointing. Overall, it's okay. I'm not too impressed with it. It doesn't really add that much extra in my mind, especially if you're already playing a race that has Dark Vision. And there's quite a few of them. There's a fair amount of races that already have Dark Vision. So the Astral Sight, it's a nice improvement, but depending on the race you pick, it's going to directly impact how much of an impact Astral Sight ultimately really has on your character. So, not the biggest fan of this one overall. I would have liked to have seen something a little more interesting out of it than just advantage on 2 skills and enhanced Dark Vision. So let's move on to level 11, Awakening of the Astral Self. Starting at 11th level, you tap into the greater power of your Astral Self. While you have both your Astral Arms and Vision summoned, you gain the following benefits. Deflect Energy. When you take acid, cold, fire, lightning, or force damage, you can use a reaction to deflect it. When you do so, the damage you take is reduced by 1d10 plus your Wisdom modifier plus your Monk level. Empowered Arms. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a target with your Astral Arms, you can deal extra damage to the target equal to your martial arts die. Word of the Spirit. When you speak through your visage, you can direct your words to a creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you, making it so only that creature can hear you. Alternatively, you can amplify your voice so all creatures within 600 feet can hear you. It's interesting. I could see this last one having some interesting utility in the hands of a really creative player. There's some ways you could potentially use that to really kind of screw around with enemies or, have some nice benefits to your team. The Empowered Arms thing, it's fine, a little bit of a damage buff. Deflect Energy, I do like that. It's kind of a nice sort of, it's a nice callback to deflect arrows, but just the fact that it's acid, cold, fire, lightning, and force damage, that's really nice. There's not much, there's actually very little in the game that allows you to help negate force damage. Acid, cold, fire, lightning, there's plenty of stuff in there that's able to resist or reduce the damage from that, but force damage, that's really rare, so that kind of helps to stand out. And it is nice that, you know, this isn't just a straight up like, oh, I deflect it, you know, it's damage reduction. Based on your wisdom modifier, so again, this is looking like you definitely want to have good wisdom if you're going into this, which also means you're going to still want decent strength or dexterity on top of decent constitution when you don't have your astral self active. So I am starting to see a little bit more of that mad problem, but all in all, this isn't too bad. This is a nice way of giving some benefit to having both the visage and the arms active. I mean, yeah, it's a little unfortunate that I mean, I would almost say that maybe Words of the Spirit should have been moved to Astral Self, or Visage of the Astral Self as it was, just so that you would have that one additional option that would add that little bit of extra interest. I don't see any reason why you would need to hold it to 11th level, but, you know, it being here, I mean, it's fine, you know. It's really these two that are, well, actually, it's really the deflect energy that is like kind of the standout here. Word of the Spirit is very nice. I do really like it. I can definitely see, like I said, very interesting ways you can use it, but I see no reason why it had to be saved for here and why it couldn't have been put here. Finally, the complete Astral Self. Starting at 17th level, your connection to your Astral Self is complete, allowing you to summon it entirely. On your turn, you can spend 10 key points as a bonus action to summon the arms, visage, and body of your Astral Self for 10 minutes. The spectral body covers your physical form like a suit of armor, connecting with the arms and visage. You determine its appearance based on the quality of your character. When your Astral Self is summoned, you gain the following benefits. Armor of the Spirits. You gain a +2 bonus to AC while you aren't incapacitated. Astral Barrage. Whenever you use the extra attack feature to attack twice, you can instead attack 3 times using your Astral Arms. Key Consumption. When a creature within 10 feet of you is reduced to 0 hit points, you can use a reaction to gain key points equal to your Wisdom modifier, minimum of 1. Now, this is nice. This, come on, highlight correctly. Key Consumption is arguably the nicest ability here, because this is going to allow you to feed right back into using these abilities again. I really like this. Kind of wish it came earlier than 17th level, but it's good. It does help to define this a bit more as a nice capstone ability. Astral Barrage, not bad. You know, getting that 3rd extra attack is not bad. What I wonder, though, does that work with this? You know, from the arms of the Astral Self. Immediately after using an attack action with your Astral Arms in your form, you can make 1 extra attack with the Astral Arms as a bonus action. The number of extra attacks increases when you reach certain levels from 2 to 11th, 3 to 17th. Does that mean that you can make 3 attacks using extra attacks and this? Well, let's bust out the player's handbook and read extra attack for the monk. See if we can't figure this out. Because it could turn out that what we are reading is simply a rewording of that ability. Okay. Extra attack. Beginning at 5th level, you can attack twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. Which means this is not a rewording of this ability. So, instead of attacking twice with extra attack, not only can you use the Astral Arms to attack 3 times, but you can then, as a bonus action, attack another 3 times with the Astral Arms. That's pretty wild. That, I have to say, is pretty cool. Definitely lends to that whole idea of the monk being, you know, kind of a flurry of blows type of character. Armor of the Spirit, there's no other way around it. That's fucking boring. That is insanely boring. +2 bonus to AC while you're not unconscious. Okay, cool, whatever. Plenty of ways to get bonuses to AC. There is nothing exciting about that at all. It's nice, but it's boring. These are the highlights here. But how is this tradition overall? Well, as cool as I like the Astral Barrage and Astral Arms bonus attack combination, and as much as I do like key consumption and, the Word of the Spirit ability, overall I'm not impressed with this class, or with this tradition. It's okay, you know. It's definitely fine. It enhances the combat abilities of the monk. It does give some extra options in terms of which stat you want to focus on, but all in all, I think a lot of the other traditions are mechanically more interesting than this one. Thematically interesting, that's a whole different story. Thematically, this is super cool. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy the style of it. I love the fact that Wizard straight up says, hey, you're playing the character, you decide what this thing appears like, whatever you like, whatever you think fits for the character, it's all up to the player playing it. All for that sort of stuff. Always for that sort of stuff. But in terms of the functionality, the actual mechanics of it, I mean, it's okay. It really just, to me, seems to sort of bolster things that we already had. The most interesting things about it, like I said, are the extra attack and Astral Barrage combo. It is nice that you get to choose between Radiant or Necrotic damage. Word of the Spirit is a cool ability, and I mean, yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, not too wild about this one. So I give this one probably 5 out of 10. If I had to give it a number scale, I would say that the Path of the Wild Soul, 8 out of 10. But you know what? We've spent enough time talking about the old stuff. Let's move on to the new stuff. The Sorcerer and Warlock's new origins, the Aberrant Mind Origin, and the Lurker and the Deep Patron. So let's begin. Sorcerer's Origin, as always, picked at first level. Aberrant Mind, an alien influence has wrapped its tendrils around you, warping you in both body and mind. Perhaps a psychic splinter lodged in your psyche after you suffered damnation by an aboleth. Maybe you were born somewhere tainted by the far realm, a planar blot that has changed you forever. Perhaps mind flayers kidnapped you, submitting you to the nightmarish process of Ceramorphous, but the transformation failed and left you altered. Unique disturbance. Regardless of its genesis, the Aberrant Mind Origin imparts a sense of eeriness to the character and their surroundings. This can be as subtle as when your sorcerer reads a creature's minds but detect thoughts. Anyone in their immediate vicinity experiences a faint but pervasive sense of dread, or it could be unmistakable, such as sweating a sheen of viscous mucus when you're scared, or your pupils squirming when you're excited. Consider the potentially unspeakable source of your sorcerer's powers and use that as a guide to weave the threads of eeriness throughout your magic. Again, encouraging you to insert the flavor yourself as a player, to become creative and think about how you want these things to appear. I like that a lot. So, invasive thoughts. At first level, you gain the ability to use a bonus action to magically create a telepathic link with you and one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. Until the link ends, you can telepathically speak to the target through the link, and if it understands at least one language, it can speak telepathically to you. The link lasts for 10 minutes, and it ends earlier if you are incapacitated or die, or if you use another bonus action to break the link or establish this link with a different creature. Not bad, kind of an interesting way to sort of communicate with NPCs, communicate with enemies, potentially screw with enemies. I was talking about how that, I keep reminding myself of the names. Word of the Spirit was nice because you can use it to sort of mess with your enemies a little bit. This, you can do similar. The nice thing is it's telepathic. You can insert thoughts directly into their heads. Really kind of screw with them if you're creative. Nice thing is, too, it's two-way. The Warlock does get a similar feature through the Great Old One patron, I believe. But it's one-way. This being two-way, it's basically the same ability, but that added element of it being two-way, it's going to open a lot more interesting options for roleplay potential there, which is fantastic in my opinion. Psionic Spells, first level Aberrant Mind feature. Starting at first level, your aberrant nature changes your mind in subtle but profound ways. You learn additional spells when you reach certain levels in the class as shown in the Psionic Spells table. The spell counts as a sorcerer spell for you, but does not count against the number of sorcerer spells you know. These spells can't be replaced when you gain a level in the class. And most of these, they're mostly Warlock spells. Arms of Hadar, Dissonant Whispers, Calm Emotions, Detect Thoughts, Hunger of Hadar, Sending, Compulsion of Arts, Black Tentacles, Modify Memory, Raries, Telepathic Bond, at 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th levels, respectively. So again, all in keeping with that theme of otherworldly, Lovecraftian creatures, tentacles, strange forms, messing with the mind, psychic invasion. All very Lovecraftian. Very thematic, and a nice way to sort of add a little bit of, not only thematic variety, but some additional options in terms of the spells you can choose and the sort of utility you can bring as a sorcerer. Warped Being. Starting at first level, your aberrant origin protects you from harm. Your body might have a coating of viscous slime, tough hide, scales, or an invisible psionic barrier. Choose the form of protection when you gain this feature. Whatever the form of protection takes, your AC equals 13 plus your dex modifier while you're wearing no armor. Remember, rule tip, AC calculations don't stack. The game gives you more than one way to calculate your AC. You can only use one of them. You choose the one to use. For example, if you have the Warped Being feature and the Monk's Armor Defense feature, you don't mix them. Instead, you choose which one determines the AC. So this is nice. This is particularly nice because it is, straight up, if we take the thematic element aside, this is Mage Armor. Free, permanent Mage Armor. Not bad. It's nice. It's helpful. Mechanically, not exciting, but certainly helpful. And the thematic element, being able to choose the appearance of it or lack of appearance of it, having that option to choose if it has a distinct appearance that could be unsettling, very cool, because that in and of itself opens more potential roleplay options up to the players. Moving on to 6th level abilities. Psionic Sorcery. Beginning at the 6th level. Beginning at 6th level, when you cast any spell gained from the Psionic Spells feature, you can cast it by expending the spell slot as normal or by spending a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level. If you cast a spell using sorcery points, it requires no components. So, this is kind of nice, actually. Anybody who is familiar with sorcerers as they're presented in Pathfinder will probably remember that in 1st edition, sorcerers, for free, got the Eschew Materials feat, which meant that any spell that had material components that equaled a cost of 1 gold or less, or that equaled a cost, actually I think it was less than 1 gold. So any spell with material components of a total cost equal to less than 1 gold did not require the material components to be cast. This is sort of a nice throwback to that. And it plays well with that idea that by using the sorcery points, you're casting the spell using your psychic abilities, using the powers of your minds, powers imparted on you by this dark, aberrant, warped mind that has seeped into you. I like that. It's a nice extra option, a nice extra way to spend your sorcery points, especially since, again, from experience, I've met a few people who play sorcerers who, sadly, a lot of times kind of forget about their sorcery points, forget about their meta magic. So this extra option is a very nice one to remember. Grants you more spells, straight up. Psychic defenses. At 6th level, you gain resistance to psychic damage and have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. Not especially exciting, but resistance to psychic damage, that's big. As I was just saying with the Wild Soul Barbarian, not many things have resistance to psychic damage. So that's pretty damn nice. Especially because psychic damage can be very punishing sometimes. Having resistance on it, it's nothing to shake a stick at. Advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. It's pretty standard. Advantage of saving throws against being charmed. That happens with, elves get that standard, if memory serves me correctly. Advantage against being frightened. Fighters get that. So it's a nice ability. Not especially exciting. Nothing especially new, but nice. 14th level, Revelation in Flesh. Beginning at 14th level, you can unleash the aberrant truth hidden within your flesh. As a bonus action, you can spend 1 or more sorcery points to magically transform your body for 1 minute. For each sorcery point you spend, you can gain 1 of the following benefits of your choice, the effects of which last until the transformation ends. A swimming speed equal to your walking speed and the ability to breathe underwater. Gills grow from your neck or fan out from behind your ears, your fingers become web, or you grow lashing cilia that extend through your clothing. You get a flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover. As you fly, your skin glistens with mucus. Gross. Your body, along with any equipment you are wearing or carrying, becomes slimy and pliable. You can move through any space as narrow as 1 inch without squeezing, and you can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints or being grappled. Lastly, your eyes turn black or become writhing sensory tendrils. You're aware of the location of any hidden or visible creature within 60 feet of you. So, first glance, cool ability, but nothing that we necessarily haven't seen too much of before. First glance would tell you, especially if you look at the fly speed, oh, well, a quarter of this is a worse version of the flight ability that, Draconic bloodline sorcerers get. Here's the thing to consider. You could spend between 1 and 4 sorcery points on this. I know it says 1 or more, but it's ultimately 1 or 4 because you spend 1 sorcery point for each thing. And every time you spend a sorcery point, you could pick another one of these abilities. You could have, potentially, in the right situation where it would be helpful, all 4 of these going at once. That provides an incredible amount of variety and options. And lasting for 1 minute, out of combat, not that much. In combat, it's going to last you most of the time. That's going to last you the entire fight. So all in all, yeah, I'm into this one. I like this a lot. The number of options it gives you, plus the fact this is another way to use your sorcery points. Another option for players to remember to use those sorcery points. And it's very utilitarian. Excuse me. God, I don't know why I keep burping so much. So, Revelation in Flesh. Individually, the abilities, not super exciting, but considering the fact that you can combine them together, I'm into it. Lastly, Warp Reality. At 18th level, you become the focal point of a reality warping anomaly. As an action, you can magically radiate transparent 20-foot radius aura for 1 minute. This might take the form of a sphere of rippling psychic energy, a fluctuating amoebic gel, an extrusion of ephemeral parasites, or some other manifestation. Other creatures in the area treat the area as difficult terrain, and when they start their turn in it, they take 2d10 psychic damage. When you activate this feature, you can choose any number of creatures that you can see to be unaffected by the aura. As a bonus action, you can end the aura early. If you do so, you and any number of creatures you choose within the area are teleported to a location you can see within 1 mile of you. Each creature must appear within 20 feet of you and in an unoccupied space. An unwilling creature that succeeds on a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC is not teleported. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. I like this. I'm into this. Not only do you have, again, the option of, how does it appear? You describe it. You choose. But I apologize if you can hear that helicopter going by. I can see it coming. That's going to take a little while. Hopefully it's not too loud. Anyway, again, I like the fact that it's giving the players the option to describe it themselves. Treating the area as difficult terrain is very nice because that ties directly in to the 2d10 psychic damage, because if they start their turn there, that's how the damage is triggered. Having it be difficult terrain makes it that much harder for them to get out of it, more likely for the damage to take effect. Again, psychic damage, difficult to resist. And you get to choose which creatures are unaffected by that aura, as long as you can see them. Being able to end the aura early and teleport, too, adds a nice little bit of utility to this. So this ability offers a nice number of options. I would say, yeah, this is a really good capstone ability for this origin. I'm very much into this one. I definitely like this a lot, and I do think that, once per long rest, very, very fair for what is absolutely a powerful feature. And the fact that Unwilling Creature succeeds on a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC to resist it, that's strong. Charisma is not one of those stats that gets used as a save very often. Relatively often, but not very often. More often than not, if it's a mental stat, most of the time it's going to be Wisdom. Then Charisma, and then Intelligence very last. But generally speaking, your saving throws, most of the time, it's Dexterity, Constitution, or Wisdom. Your rolled Fortitude, Reflex, and Will. So having it be tied to Charisma, pretty good. All in all, overall, yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, I am a bit biased. I always love the whole Lovecraftian, creepy, oozy, fuck with your mind sort of origins and abilities and, that whole feeling. Some of the abilities do leave a little bit to be desired. Some of them aren't especially exciting. The free mage armor, for example. It's nice. It's just not very exciting. Psychic defenses, again, nice. Just not very exciting. But there's enough here, even if there is overlap with some of the other classes or some of the other origins for sorcerers. With other classes, obviously the obvious overlap here is with the Great Old One Warlock. There's enough here that helps this stand out as its own thing in combination with how the sorcerer works that, yeah, I think this is pretty good. I think this is pretty good. Finally, we come to the Lurker in the Deep Otherworldly Patron. You make a pact with an entity that lurks somewhere deep in the ocean or even on the elemental plane of water, such as a mighty kraken, an ancient primordial, or monstrous being from creation's earliest days. You serve as this creature's eyes and ears, watching the world beyond its domains and reporting your findings. You may have gained this pact as a member of a cult dedicated to the entity or after your patron saved your life when you nearly drowned at sea. Several features of the Lurker in the Deep create tentacles or a maw that reach into the world. The form of these appendages should reflect the nature of your specific patron. For example, a Kraken's warlock might summon giant squid-like tentacles, serrated crab claws, or a massive octopus beak, while the servant of a primordial water elemental might create tendrils or swells of living water. Again, telling the players, decide for yourself. I'm into that. I appreciate that a lot. Expanded spell list. Lurker in the Deep lets you choose from an expanded spell list when you learn a Warlock spell. The following spells are added to the Warlock spell list for you. Create or destroy water and thunder wave. Gust of wind and silence. Lightning bolt and sleet storm. Control water and Evard's black tentacles. I'm kind of surprised. I thought that was already a Warlock spell. Color me shocked that it isn't. And lastly, commune with nature and cone of cold. So it's nice. It's nice having the extra option of spells to learn. But I have to admit, a little disappointed that it's just an extra option of spells to learn, given what we all know about Warlocks. Their selection of spells and how often they can use them is fucking atrocious. Would have been nice to just have them as bonus spells that they could use, but, you could say the same about literally every other Warlock Patron. So, is it obvious that I'm not a fan of Warlocks? Anyway, let's get into it. Grasp of the Deep. At first level, you gain the ability to magically summon a spectral tentacle that strikes at your foes. As a bonus action, you create a 10-foot-long tentacle at a point you can see within 60 feet of you. It lasts for 1 minute or until you use a feature to create another tentacle. When you create the tentacle, you can make a melee attack against a creature within 10 feet of it. On a hit, the creature takes 1d8 cold or lightning damage, your choice when it takes the damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. When you reach 10th level in this class, the damage dealt by the tentacle is increased to 2d8. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the tentacle up to 30 feet and repeat the attack. You can summon the tentacle a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, a minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So, yeah, not too bad. Summon up a tentacle that can lash out at things. Having it be within a 60-foot range and have its own 10-foot reach does give you a lot of options of where you can place it. The fact that it can slow enemies down is really nice. Melee spell attack, so it's based on your spell attack. Yeah, all in all, it's good. And the fact that you can move the tentacle up to 30 feet as a bonus action means that you can keep it in pace with whatever specific targets you really want to focus on. I like it. It's not bad at all. Although I will say it would be nice if it had more options than just smashing, but it might actually come from later abilities. We will see. Oh, yeah, it does, actually. I see the ability there, but we'll get into it when we get to it. Scion of the Deep. At first level, your patron accepts you into its inner court of servitors. You can telepathically communicate with any aberration, beast, elemental, or monstrosity that has an innate swimming speed while it is within 120 feet of you. This creature can understand you and can respond telepathically. Well, you get that two-way telepathic communication again. Longer range by 4 times than the one the sorcerer got for the Aberrant Mind, but much more limited in terms of what sort of creatures you can affect, since they have to have an innate swimming speed. That's pretty limiting, but for the right kind of game, and I'm starting to think that maybe this was supposed to be for the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Yeah, it could be neat. It's a nice little extra ability, a little bit of flavor and flair, but in terms of practicality, not great, but not terrible either. Fathomless Soul. At 6th level, your patron grants you greater abilities. You gain the following benefits. You can breathe both air and water. You gain a swimming speed equal to your walking speed. You gain resistance to cold damage. Okay, sticking with that same theme. The resistance to cold is nice. Swimming speed and water breathing, that is going to depend entirely on whether or not there's going to be any situations on which you're going to have to worry about that. And in my experience, apart from the occasional water trap, there are not many situations where you're going to be able to make good use of that. So that's pretty limiting. This is starting to look a little bit like this is going to be the kind of thing you want to play in a very specific sort of game. But all in all, it's not terrible. It's not very good either. It's just kind of okay. And the fact it's just, a passive ability, it's fine. Nothing too special, but nothing amazing either. Guardian Grasp. At 6th level, the tentacle you create with Grasp of the Deep can defend you and others. When you or a creature you see takes damage while within 10 feet of the tentacle, you can choose your reaction to choose one of those creatures and reduce the damage to the chosen creature by half. After doing so, the tentacle vanishes. That is really nice. Now, when I was mentioning that with Grasp of the Deep, that I would like it to be able to do a little bit more than just attack, I was talking specifically about grappling. After all, it's called the Grasp of the Deep. You think it'll be able to grab things. But no, in terms of how it is rules as written, it strikes your foes. It attacks. And that's it. This is a nice way to add something extra to it. Adds a new option, adds a nice bit of utility, gives you a defensive option in combat, not just for yourself, but for your allies. That adds a great deal of option to an ability that already has a, nice amount of utility to it, nice amount of options, and gives the Warlock a little something more to do on their turn than just spam Eldritch Blast all day. Devouring Maw, 10th level. You magically draw forth a manifestation of your patron's insatiable hunger. As an action, choose a point you can see within 60 feet of you. For 1 minute, a translucent maw manifests in a 10-foot radius centered on that point. Each creature in that area within the maw, or when the maw appears, must succeed a strength saving throw against your spell save DC or be restrained. And a creature that starts his turn in the maw takes 3d6 cold or lightning damage of your choice when you take the damage, or when it takes the damage. As an action, a restrained creature can repeat the saving throw, ending restraint on a success. At the start of your turn, if there is a creature in the maw's area, you gain temporary hit points equal to your warlock level. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. And rule tip, temporary hit points don't stack. They know that people are going to be asking about that one. So that's good. They answer that right there. Yeah, really into this one. Not only does all of its effects complement each other by restraining creatures, that gives more chance for it to deal the damage. Restrained creatures can break free, but they have to spend an action, so that's giving you damage to their action economy. You get to set the flavor again. Just all in all, really good. And gaining those temporary hit points makes you a little more hardy, gives you some more options in combat potentially. It's all in all, yeah. Definitely into this one. This is a nice ability. And, very nice thing, once you use this feature, you can do so after a short or long rest. So, that's a fair number of times you can potentially use it. Creates a nice bit of zone control. Again, much like Grasp of the Deep, within 60 feet of you. You can combine it nicely with Grasp of the Deep, because you can have the tentacles start lashing at them as you've got them trapped. Yeah. This is really nice. Now, the downside is, of course, you need to be careful where you place that, because you're obviously going to want to try to avoid catching your party in it. But that just means, a little bit of more tactical technical thinking, which I'm all for. D&D 5e honestly could use a little bit more of that. Lastly, Unleash the Depths. 14th level, you gain the ability to call upon your patron for aid. As an action, you choose a point within 30 feet of where your... As an action, you choose a point within 30 feet of you where your patron tears through reality, manifesting a measure of its thalassic grandeur. Choose one of the following effects to issue from this manifestation point. Once you use either effect, you can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. Transport. You and up to 5 willing creatures of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of the manifestation are grasped by spectral tentacles and yanked through your patron's realm. The tentacles teleport you and the chosen creatures to a point of your choice within 100 miles that you have visited within the past 24 hours. The tentacles then vanish. Fury. You can direct a barrage of spectral tentacles to issue forth and strike up to 5 creatures you can see within 30 feet of the manifestation point. Each target must succeed a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature takes 60-10 cold or lightning damage, your choice, and is knocked prone. On a successful save, it takes half as much damage and is not knocked prone. The tentacles then vanish. So, a nice single-use capstone for the patron. The option of teleport or damage with potentially knocking prone. Very nice. And again, up to 5 creatures. All in all, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. The one potential thing I see that kind of irks me is the capstone for the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer also involved an area of effect teleport. Now, the difference there is it was as many creatures within that radius potentially as you wanted, including unwilling creatures. So that is something to bear in mind. It does have another option there, another level of utility, and we have to consider that. But teleport 1 mile versus teleport up to 100 miles, that's a pretty huge difference. Now, the caveat, 100 miles that you have visited within the last 24 hours. So depending on how far you've traveled in 24 hours, that's going to severely limit how much transport will help you. But by and large, This is a cool pair of abilities. It's thematic. It's got some impact. The fact that the transport is described as these tentacles pulling you through the patron's realm, that is stylish as hell. Again, gives options to describe that realm, to really paint that picture, which I love. Fantastic. Totally into that. Now, there is a new spell that comes here as well. We might as well touch on it since we're here. It's a cantrip. The Mind Sliver, an enchantment cantrip. Casting of 1 action, 60-foot range, verbal component, 1 round. You drive a disorienting spike of psychic energy into the mind of one creature you can see within range. The target must make an intelligence saving throw. Unless the saving throw is successful, the target takes 1d6 psychic damage, and the first time it makes any saving throw before the end of your next turn, it must roll a d4 and subtract the number rolled from the save. The spell's damage increases by 1d6 when you reach a certain level. 2d6 at 5th, 3d6 at 11th, 4d6 at 17th. Now, I am not a fan of the wording. I would have actually said the target takes 1d6 psychic damage unless they succeed the save. I would have worded it basically like, the target takes 1d6 psychic damage unless they succeed an intelligence saving throw against your spell save DC. It reads more clearly. Instead of this long run-on sentence, and this long run-on sentence, basically, and then when you come to this part, just instead of like, they take 1d6 damage, and the first time it makes a saving throw before the end of your next turn, must roll a d4, just tack that on as a new sentence. Additionally, if it failed the save, the first time it makes a saving throw before the end of your next turn, it must roll a d4 and subtract the number rolled from the save. Now, in terms of the spell itself, it's pretty good. I was mentioning earlier for the Aberrant Mind Warlock how Charisma isn't a super common saving throw. Well, Intelligence is even less so. And this is an intelligence saving throw. Yes, like all saving throw cantrips or pure saving throw based spells that lose the effect, there's always the chance the creature is going to just overcome it. But this is a nice spell. And the damage is fine. But the nice thing is that debuff to a save. If you can force them to make another save, or one of your party members can force them to make another saving throw, subtracting that 1 to 4 from that can be the difference between success and failure. That's cool. I like it, and it's thematically appropriate for these two, for this Origin and this Patron. But speaking of the Patron, how do we like it? Now, like I said, I'm a fan of Lovecraftian, deep-sea monster type things, so I'm drawn to this. We had a couple of things where I wasn't particularly impressed, Fathomless Soul being one of them, Scion of the Deep being another one, but by and large, this is good. Now, one thing I do know is that even though Scion of the Deep and Fathomless Soul, they are very limited use unless you're in the right kind of campaign. Technically, you're still getting new abilities. You're still getting the resistance to cold damage, which is, good. So at 6 levels straight up, you're getting 2 new abilities. Because, resistance to cold damage, resistance of any kind is resistance. Even if it's in a campaign or you don't run into it that often, when you do run into it, it's going to do nothing but help. So one thing I do know, because I took a look at the Warlock ahead of time, the Otherworldly Patron gets more abilities than all the Warlock Patrons in the player's handbook. The Warlock Patrons in the player's handbook gain 1 new ability per level, obviously excluding expanded spell lists. The 1st and 6th level abilities for this guy gets 2 each, so in that sense, it is potentially, arguably more powerful, But given the niche nature of these abilities, I think that's an argument we don't really have to worry about. By and large, I do like this patron a lot. Any complaints I would have with it, well, they aren't complaints about the patron. They're complaints about the Warlock class itself. And I think that these abilities actually do a nice job of adding a little something extra to mix up the abhorrent level of monotony that the Warlock usually has. I don't think it's enough, but it's a step in the right direction, and I can laud it for that. Plus, the style of it, it's just something I love. So, there we have it. 4 Unearthed Arcanas in a video that went on far too long, but hey, you know, why the hell not? So, what do you think of these Unearthed Arcanas? What are your thoughts on the Wild Soul Barbarian, the Way of the Astral Self Monk, the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, the Lurker in the Deep Warlock? My goodness, why can't I keep these names right? It's just because it's getting pretty damn late for me. I apologize for that. In any case, I'm going to pin a comment below the video with timestamps for exactly where I talk about each of these new class options, so you can skip to the one that you're interested in. This video ran long. It's over an hour, and I do apologize for that, but, you know, let me know what your thoughts are. If you listen to all of it, if you listen to one of it, 2 of it, 3 of them, you know, just what are your thoughts on this pair of Unearthed Arcanas? Do you like these ideas? Are you as into them as I was? Do you see the same problems I do? You know, just let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. As always, if you like this video and you would like to see more, feel free to hit the like button, comment, subscribe, bell notification icon for notifications. Share this video around to friends and family that you think might be interested in it. It would be a great way to help me grow my channel. Open the description box down below to follow me on my social media presences. Keep an eye out going forward, too. Pretty soon, I'm hoping within the next month or so, we will be beginning a weekly podcast of live play for a campaign that I have been working on getting ready for the past 6 months or so. I'm gathering the players together. Hopefully we can work out scheduling and get things going sooner rather than later. Goal, like I said just now, is to start within a month. And yeah, that should hopefully be a lot of fun. As I've said, it'll be run like a podcast, so you're not going to have to worry about visuals or anything like that. It's something you can listen to. Nice and easy. That's the goal there. On your commute to work, if you're out on a long drive, or even if you're just doing some chores around the house, it's a little bit of entertainment that I hope to bring you guys that is easy to consume and will provide plenty of entertainment. At least that's the hope. And so, with all that now said and done, friends and gamers of all stripes, as usual, my name is GM Dave. I am your man behind the screen. Thank you for joining me here today, and remember, most important lesson of all, we don't just watch, we game.